Ever wondered if your global wanderings come with an invisible Made in USA stamp? You might think you're blending in, but according to our friends across the pond, there are some undeniable giveaways that scream American. From your coffee order to your choice of footwear, Europeans have a keen eye for spotting someone from the States. We're not talking about stereotypes here. Well, not just stereotypes. These are fascinating, often endearing, and sometimes eyebrow-raising observations from Europeans who interact with Americans every single day. As Portuguese tour guide and food critic Carol Batista told HuffPost, working closely with American clients has given her quite a few insights. While some of these signs might make you chuckle, others reveal deep cultural differences you might not even realize are showing. So, grab your oversized iced coffee, settle in, and let's uncover the 23 telltale signs you might be American, according to Europeans. 1. The visual cues. How you look and what you carry. Let's start with what Europeans often see before they even hear you speak: your appearance and accessories. Comfort first fashion. This is a big one. Jane Iskra, an Iceland-based elopement photographer, notes that you'll often see Americans in athleisure, sneakers, baseball caps or hoodies, even when traveling. This stands in stark contrast to the more polished, dress-your-local fashion you'd typically see in European cities, especially places like Italy. Luli Monteleone, a digital marketing specialist based in Lisbon, hilariously describes it as that unwavering confidence of walking into a centuries-old basilica dressed like you just left a reformer Pilates class. Think athletic leggings, oversized hoodie, and maybe just maybe sandals with socks. Practical, extremely contextual. Not quite. While you're prioritizing comfort for those long travel days, Europeans are often observing the striking difference in formality. Stanley cups and huge water bottles. This might seem trivial, but it's a dead giveaway. Both Jane Iskra and Steffi Crivellaro, a UK-based blogger, point out the ubiquitous presence of these large, reusable mugs and water bottles. They seem to go everywhere with them, even when traveling. Says Iskra. In many European countries, where tap water is generally safe and smaller personal bottles are common, the sheer size and constant carrying of these hydration tanks stands out. Large engagement rings. Here's a sparkling sign. Jane Iskra also observes that the big, sparkly engagement ring tradition is very American. In many other countries, engagement rings might be more understated, or simply not a central part of the cultural tradition at all. So, if you're flashing a significant diamond, it's a strong indicator to European eyes. 2. The sound of America. How you communicate and your vibe beyond what you wear, the way you interact, and the very sound of your voice can be a huge clue. Loud confidence. Ron Clowell, a PR consultant in London, vividly states, one of the biggest indications is usually that you can hear them before you see them. It's not necessarily about being intentionally disruptive, but about a certain volume and presence. They command attention wherever they are, she explains, linking it to how confidence is culturally built in America. Stephanie Pons, founder of Lisbon Insiders, agrees, noting Americans tend to find everything amazing and aren't shy about saying it out loud and often. She adds, they speak with a volume that's just slightly above local norms, even when whispering. And in a world where many cultures lean toward discretion, that kind of openness stands out. Jumping straight into English, Luli Monteleone highlights this subtle but significant sign. It's not the accent, it's the cheerful assumption that English will always do the job. While English is widely spoken in tourist areas, a simple chong or bonjour goes a long way. This small gesture of trying the local language tends to unlock a different kind of experience and shows respect. Skipping it is a classic American habit. Saying like all the time, this one's a filler word favorite. Carol Batista specifically calls out the overuse of the word like, especially with people from LA. Sometimes you'll hear like 8 times in a single sentence. Jane Iskra also points to awesome, you guys, and the omnipresent like as almost certain indicators. It's a casual, conversational linguistic habit that immediately catches the European ear. Warmth and friendliness. This is overwhelmingly seen as an endearing trait. Kenza Sadhu Nel Glawi, a Parisian digital creator, marvels at Americans' amazing ability to start a conversation, openly, spontaneously, as if they already knew the person in front of them. She admits it can be disconcerting for us Europeans where such openness can sometimes be seen as insincere, but she finds it refreshing to have even a short exchange with someone who is smiling, warm, and quick to compliment your outfit or haircut. Tara Povey, an Irish blogger, echoes this, saying, "They say hello to everyone. They chat to locals. They ask questions, and it's lovely to see." There's a sort of genuine, open curiosity about an American abroad that I, personally, find very endearing. This spontaneous, outgoing nature is a hallmark. Genuine enthusiasm. When Americans are impressed, they show it. Carol Batista shares heartwarming stories of food tour guests reacting like it was Christmas morning over a market tasting. Diana De Lorenzi, a Rome-based lifestyle blogger, notes that when American tourists taste her partner, Lukov Rally's award-winning gelato, they always without fail say the same phrase, "Oh my God." For Italians, it's a joy to see such genuine enthusiasm, even if the exclamation is almost ritualistic. 3. The comfort and consumption habits. What you eat, drink, and expect your culinary preferences and desire for certain comforts can also give you away. Seeking air conditioning. In hot European summers, locals flock to outdoor squares and cafes. Diana De Lorenzi notes that in Italy, the outdoor tables are always the most desired. Americans, however, almost always choose the indoor spaces with air conditioning. For them, climate comfort is an absolute priority. Livia Hengel, founder of the Italy Edit, bluntly states, "Americans are notoriously hot all the time and expect lots of air conditioning and ice when they travel, two things that aren't so easy to come by in Italy." That craving for a perfectly chilled environment is distinctly American. The iced coffee hunt. This is a quest. Luli Monteleone describes it as the iced coffee hunt. Even in the middle of winter and ideally in a 500 milliliters cup. There's a kind of dedication there that I honestly admire. Steffi Crivellaro adds that a drink with lots of ice, either water or iced coffee, is a clear sign. In many parts of Europe, hot coffee is the norm, and ice is often a precious commodity or used sparingly. The demand for giant, ice-filled beverages is a true American trait. And for those of you in the comments who agreed about asking for extra ice because those two little cubes just don't cut it, you're proving the point. Different portion size expectations. If you've been on a food tour with an American, you've probably heard this. Carol Batista frequently notices that Americans are frequently surprised by how small European portions can be, while we are shocked when we see of their portions. The classic line, "Wait, this is for one person." And it's always funny. The sheer scale of American meals compared to European ones is a constant source of amusement and observation. Cappuccino with dinner. This is a classic cultural faux pas that brings a smile to Italian faces. Diana De Lorenzi observes, if someone asks for a cappuccino with pasta or pizza and also at dinner, you can be sure they are an American tourist. For Italians, cappuccino, the sacred morning ritual, strictly a breakfast drink. But, she adds, it's nice to see how every culture experiences food in its own way. 4. Money, shopping and travel style. Your economic footprint, how you spend, shop, and move through the world financially can also reveal your origin. Big spending habits. Jane Iskra points out that at supermarkets or stores abroad, Americans often buy in bulk or stock up more than locals, who tend to shop daily. Carol Batista adds that Americans love to spend and often do, though more generously than other nationalities. She also notes that coming from a country with much higher average wages, Americans sometimes don't realize how significant the wage gap is. What feels affordable to them, like paying for a service, can seem extravagant to locals in countries where average salaries are much lower. This mix of enthusiasm and practicality in spending is uniquely American. Generous tipping. This is an immediate giveaway. Livia Hangel highlights that American travelers are generous tippers, even though the U.S. is one of the only countries in the world where a 20% plus tip is expected as the norm. In Europe, tipping is usually for exceptionally good service and isn't relied upon by servers for their income. Tara Povey confirms that leaving large tips is a sure sign of where they are from, paying by credit card for everything. Diana De Lorenzi observes, Americans always pay by card, even for very small amounts like a €1 espresso. This is a significant cultural difference, as many Europeans still prefer cash for small transactions, or card use is less prevalent for tiny purchases. Fast-moving itineraries. Luli Monteleone playfully notes that I've been to Europe often means a whirlwind through Paris, London, and Rome in under 2 weeks. She acknowledges the impressive cardio required for such a pace, but adds, truthfully, Europe's charm often lives in the quieter, slower corners. The American inclination for hitting all the major highlights quickly, rather than savoring a slower, more immersive experience, stands out. 5. Unique cultural tendencies, heritage, maps, and more. Beyond the obvious, some deeply ingrained cultural habits surface when Americans travel. Quick to talk about heritage, Tara Povey finds this charming but unique, rushing to include their ancestry in an opening conversation, while she loves their enthusiasm for heritage, especially for Ireland's tourism. She notes, never have I met anyone from outside the U.S. who has launched into their grandparents' origin story when we have just been introduced. It's a genuine American impulse to connect through ancestral roots. Limited geographic knowledge. This can sometimes lead to humorous misunderstandings. Tara Povey recounts meeting an American man who, after being told she was from Ireland, declared he had just been visiting my neighbors. Referring to Italy, she explains, neither Italy nor Ireland would ever refer to each other as neighbors. It would take 27 hours to drive from Dublin to Rome. That's the equivalent of Miami to Minneapolis. Florida and Minnesota, not neighbors. This tendency to view Europe as a single, homogeneous entity, rather than a continent of distinct, often vastly different countries, is a common observation. Love of Rick Steves' guidebooks, Otter GSP Olafsdottir, an Iceland-based marketing professional, immediately spots Americans because they explore the country using Rick Steves' Iceland as their compass, not Lonely Planet, or photos, or even a local source. What's more, Americans carry Rick with pride, not tucked away in their backpack, ashamed of getting caught, but loud and proud. Out in the open, this dedication to a specific American travel authority, a unique cultural phenomenon. Full of compliments, Kelsey Heinrichs, a blogger in London, finds Americans sweet and genuine. She specifically notes how American women go out of their way to give me a compliment, and it's usually thoughtful and specific. She experiences this multiple times a day whenever I'm traveling in the States, something she's never experienced that kind of spontaneous kindness anywhere else in the world. This open, effusive way of giving compliments is distinctly American. Wanting to customize everything, Stephanie Pons highlights a customization instinct, asking for dressing on the side, almond milk in the cappuccino, or a dinner reservation at 6 p.m., which is still mid-afternoon in Portugal. She sees it as a reflection of their strong sense of personal agency, the belief that services can and should adapt to you, not the other way around. This expectation of personalization is very American. 6. The intangible American vibe. Is it changing? Beyond specific actions, there's often an indefinable something that helps Europeans pinpoint an American. The certain energy. Stephanie Pons, working in lifestyle and hospitality, finds a specific energy that's easy to spot beyond just the accent. Otter GSP Olafsdottir agrees, saying she somehow picks Americans out of a crowd, but can't quite articulate how. attributing it to something about how they're built and how they're dressed. She concludes, they're just so essentially American that their Americanness shines. One Sprout Stance versus Apologies. S.P. Olafsdotter offers a particularly poignant observation about a shift in this vibe. She suggests that once upon a time, I think Americans just walked around with a certain air of confidence about them. They were proudly American, and you could tell in the way they walk. However, she's noticed a change. Nowadays, many conversations with Americans start with apologies. Their once proud stance has been replaced with slightly hunched shoulders, like they're aware that tolerance for American politics is wavering around the world and they don't want to take up too much space. This subtle shift in posture and demeanor, reflecting a global awareness, is a fascinating modern observation. The sobering and sometimes sweet reality. So, there you have it, 23 fascinating signs that tell Europeans you're American. These are observations, not necessarily judgments, and many of them, like warmth, enthusiasm, and generosity, are seen as truly endearing qualities. As one commenter put it, Americans sound like the coolest people. Glad I'm one of them. And indeed, many studies show people in other countries find Americans to be kind, generous, and jovial. It's all part of the beautiful tapestry of cultural differences that makes travel so enriching. Which of these signs do you recognize in yourself? Or, what's the most American thing you've ever done abroad? Share your thoughts and stories in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.